Well, wherever there is ivory, the art of Scrimshaw can be found. And in the Northwest, close to Alaska's supply of fossilized ivory, that art form is flourishing. At Newport on the Oregon coast, Scrimshander Bonnie Schulte produces the miniature works using synthetic materials as well as the traditional ivory.
Scrimshaw is carving or engraving into the ivory and filling up the grooves that are engraved in with paint, ink, oil. On the sailing ships, the whalers used the dirt on their hands to fill up those, but basically it's filling up
Saw
the grooves,
her there
and in so
every
doing,
day,
an image
hours.
appears on the surface of the ivory.
Artist Bonnie Schulte uses a 16th-inch drill bit, sharpened to a fine point, to draw curved lines into the tusk. She uses an X-Acto knife for stippling that becomes the shading in her designs.
It's such an exacting, tiny miniature art form that the slightest change in the way that these things are used can either make the Scrimshaw look, let's see, rough or clean. I wear thick magnification glasses that were prescribed by an optometrist. So it's a very intense experience to make Scrimshaw.
Schulte is a fine arts graduate of Willamette University. She began as a scrimshander in 1976. She's lived in Newport on the Oregon coast for 10 years, where the environment inspires her work. Often, Schulte explores the Yaquina Bay with her friend Dan, studying the many forms of wildlife that can be found there.
My stepdad.
In our boat experiences, I'm constantly excited by all the different kinds of animals, and it's funny because it does take me into wildlife.
Whitehall is the name of that boat,
I have
I believe.
always loved realism.
Oh no, that's
I find
Puck.
it to be a challenge to say something meaningful or even powerful on a tiny surface, on a very tiny object. And I feel that since I was a painter before I started Scrimshaw, I naturally, my Scrimshaw looks like little paintings. It forces me to design in my purest form. There can be no confusion in it or it's lost.
Currently, Schulte is working on a series of knife handles for the Gutman Cutlery Company, based in Mount Vernon, New York. The commission calls for 84 sets of knives, with 4 knives in each set. Each of the 4 depicts a different animal on the endangered species list. The sets will retail for $2,600 each, and the project will last for 18 months.
It's a reproduction kind of thing that I'm doing, even though each knife is hand carved. All exactly the same, to the minutest detail.
No ivory is used in these knife handles. A synthetic substance, micarta, provides a good working surface for the pieces.
Micarta is a material that is man-made. It's paper that has been pressed or impregnated with resin, and the combination of those two materials produces a substance very much like ivory, only its consistency for Scrimshaw is perfect.
For many years, Scrimshaw was done on tusks taken from living animals. But today, legislation governs the use of fresh ivory, and it is increasingly hard to obtain. So that she does not create a demand for fresh ivory, Schulte uses only micarta or fossilized tusks from extinct animals.
We work on the fossilized ivories, and even those we consider to be a very precious material and to not be squandered. But to create something on
I have that
fresh
piece in my
ivory,
drawer
such as
right
fresh
now.
walrus, fresh elephant ivory, whale's teeth, any of those are absolutely taboo in my studio.
The ancient ivories that Schulte uses are either mammoth or mastodon. These large mammals were common in North America during the latest glacial age, 20,000 years ago. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the use of fossilized ivory for billiard balls, piano keys, and other articles before the advent of plastics decreased the ancient ivory supply. Today it is still available, but always increasing in value.
I happened to be at the right place and the right time when Scrimshaw was
Arlene.
just getting started.
Arlene Shattuck is not an artist, but a Portland dealer in ivory carvings from many parts of the Northwest. What started out as a hobby grew into a full-time job for her. She points out that each finished piece of Scrimshaw has employed several people along the way in its production. A cutter for lapidary work, the scrimshander to decorate the ivory, and often another artist to set a piece in gold or silver. Bonnie Schulte is only one of nearly 20 artists whose work she markets in Oregon, Washington, Alaska, and Hawaii.
I do a lot of work with Bonnie through the mail, and every time I get her work in, it's like Christmas. It's just fun to look at it.
Each year since 1977, Schulte has done a piece on the theme of the Lady and the Tiger. Shattuck keeps these in her personal collection. In Newport, Bonnie Schulte's work can be found at the Wood Gallery. Store owner Kelly Barker has carried Scrimshaw since the shop opened in 1979.
I'd say there's a real good demand for it. It's just coming of age as an art form. It has changed from a craft and into an art really over the last decade. When I think of the Scrimshanders, I think of about 3 people that are top, and Bonnie's one of them.
Stan Gillis, owner of the Real Mother Goose, a fine crafts gallery, also admires her work.
She was a painter at one time, and that comes across into her work, the intricacy of her work, the shadowing and everything that she does. And I think probably more than anything is just the coloration in her work. Probably the finest work that's available anywhere in the country is available in the Northwest.
Because she is well known, the future may bring more commissions and new artistic challenges for Bonnie Schulte, and she will continue to make her home and her workplace at the Oregon coast.
There's a kind of a power or a passion that goes on living so near the end of the continent or right next to such a powerful force as the ocean, as a place to become inspired or just to find solitude. It's very rich and very enduring.
Well, since we interviewed Bonnie Schulte last spring, she's nearly completed the Endangered Species series for the Gutman Cutlery Company, and now she's beginning a new series depicting birds of prey. These knives, too, will be made from the synthetic substance micarta. Schulte's work is also available locally. Jim?
And while that's one